The witch scratched her long and pointy nose and let out a croaky sigh that sounded like several animals dying. Then she spoke in a 1,000-year-old voice. "Child, do you know the fable of the farmer and the cow?" "No," I said, bouncing my knee nervously. I just wanted to get this over with. "It goes as follows. Once there was a farmer who grew so lonely that he hooked up with a cow." My knee bounced higher as I waited for her to go on. She didn't. And nothing, child. Every day that man had to look at himself in the mirror with the understanding that he was a cow fucker. Once you hook up with something, you cannot go back and unhook up with it. Do you understand? I was starting to worry that my knee was going to fly off my body and hit the ceiling. "Yes," I said, pushing my Coke bottle glasses up against my unibrow. They were always slipping down my nose. I was naturally oily, plus Brett Hughley had snapped them in half one day after gym class, and they were held together with packaging tape and didn't quite fit right anymore. Be careful what you wish for, that sort of thing, right? Nothing, I figured, could be worse than my current existence as a hopelessly awkward and endlessly punchable nerd. On the social pecking order, I was lower even than a cowfucker, bullied by the boys on a daily basis, and mocked ruthlessly by all of the pretty, popular girls. Even the other nerds were afraid to be seen with me, so I didn't even have a single real-life friend. It really sucked, and I was desperate to change my situation at any cost. "I want to do it," I said. "Please." The witch suddenly shot a scarred, gnarled hand across the table and grabbed my wrist. It startled me so much that my legs stopped bouncing and grew warm and wet with the contents of my bladder. She yanked my arm onto the table and with her other hand raked 4 claws across my flesh. I yowled in pain and began sobbing. Still holding my wrist with one hand, the witch reached her other one, which was now dripping with my blood, into a jar and pulled out a wriggling toad. She brought it up to her mouth, bit off its head and spat the head out, like a man preparing a cigar for an afternoon smoke. Then she jammed the headless toad into my open wounds, neck first, and rubbed it around. The witch hissed out an incantation in Latin. Being a nerd, I understood it perfectly. She said, "Dark One, hear my plea. Turn this pathetic loser into a ruthless winner." Then she released me and sighed again. "It is done, child. My heart breaks for you, but remember, no refunds." The next morning, I got up early and looked at my face in the mirror. Jesus Christ, what a fucking mess, I muttered. I shaved my unibrow. I squeezed every blackhead, then dug through my mother's stuff and exfoliated my face. I used some whitening strips on my teeth. I found my contact lenses in the closet. They hurt like hell, which is why I didn't wear them ever. But suddenly the pain seemed worth it. Gotta stop being a pussy, I told myself. When I was done, I had another look in the mirror. Not great, I said, but better. I decided to walk to school that day, even though I was 3 miles away. The school bus was for losers. I hustled so I arrived a few minutes before the morning bell rang. I didn't give a shit about being late anymore. The thought used to terrify me. I just wanted people to see the new me. Brett Hughley was the first to see me coming down the hall. He burst out laughing. "Aw, Whittle Dinkington got himself all cleaned up." That was his name for me, Whittle Dinkleton. His girlfriend, Sarah, started snickering. "Aw, he's so adorable." I stopped walking. A few paces from Brett. "Had to get cleaned up, Brett?" I said, smiling. Your mom asked me to. I'm gonna hook up with her in the back of your Jeep after this period. A hush fell upon the hallway. Brett's face grew redder than a cooked lobster, and veins protruded from his neck as he clenched his fist. Somebody coughed. That's right, Brett, I said. Gonna give you a new baby brother or sister. Guess that kinda makes me your dad now, huh? I had been pummeled by Brett dozens of times and had never looked forward to it, but something about this time was different. A lot about it was different. For one, I wasn't afraid. I felt that I'd rather not get hit, but if I did, then I did. And the other thing was that I had never seen Brett so incredibly enraged before. It was a beautiful thing that I had done. I bit my lip as Brett threw his backpack to the ground. He pointed a meaty finger at me. You're done, Dinkleton, he said, and he charged. Without fear blotting out my mind, I realized that Brett was not a very imaginative guy. I ducked in anticipation of a wide right hook, and that's exactly what he delivered. Where usually it connected with my head, Brett's fist now slammed into the locker to his left. There was a terrible crunch. Fuck, Brett hissed. I was in a perfect position to swing my elbow into his stomach. I'd never struck another living thing, but now I did so, gloriously. Oof. Brett doubled over, and I had so much fun the first time I elbowed him that I brought another one to bear on the back of his head. He dropped to the floor, chin first. I'ma kill you, he groaned through the bloodied mouth, but he didn't get up. What's that, Brett? I asked. You're gonna kiss me? No thanks. I'm saving myself for your mom. Then I turned around and walked away, feeling the stunned gaze of 30 students at my back. At lunch, I eschewed my regular light salad and skim milk for a burger and fries with Coke. I sat as usual, alone at my table in the corner. I felt that was the smart move. Let them come to me, play it cool, and it worked. A few minutes in, none other than Sarah herself came and stood across the table from me. Sarah was the most popular and without a doubt the prettiest sophomore in school. Hey, can I sit here? I nodded. She set her tray down and leaned over the table. Can I tell you a secret? Sure, I said. I think Brett's an asshole. I took a gulp of Coke and set the can down. I can't argue with you there. Do you want to know something else? You can tell me anything you see fit, I said. Whatever's on your mind. Well, I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I joined in with all the teasing and stuff. That's not who I am. I just, somebody's doing something and you go along with it. They've done psychological experiments proving that's how people act. So I wanted to apologize. It's fine, I said, smiling. I didn't even notice, really. And I'd like to make it up to you. What do you think? This was 100% out of the range of anything that had ever happened to me, but I pretended I knew what I was doing. Sure, let's take a walk down to the football field. All right. We stood up and walked across the cafeteria together, knowing that half the people there had their eyes on us. I chanced a glance over at Brett's table. They were all looking very sullen. Brett himself was staring at a tray of food, poking around at it with a fork. His lip was swollen and he did not look happy at all. Then we were outside, walking to the football field. We didn't say anything. I felt butterflies in my stomach, but that was nothing compared to what I would have been like before visiting the witch. I would have never walked side by side with Sarah, but if I had somehow found myself in that position, I'd probably have needed direct medical attention. Then we were under the bleachers. She reached over and kissed me. It was my first kiss and made me light up with pleasure and desire. Before very long, I was getting something that I never actually thought I would ever get. My first BJ. When she was done, she stood up and smiled. There's a get-together at Aaron's tonight. We can go all the way if you want. Just bring protection. I had no idea where Aaron's house was, but I wasn't going to ask for directions. I'd figure it out. Sure, I said, playing it cool and feeling happier than I'd ever been. Aaron's parents were loaded, and it was easy to find their address if you knew where to look. And having had absolutely no social life and living primarily through the internet, I knew where to look. My own parents both worked early in the morning and went to bed around 9. I waited until they were asleep, then slipped the keys to my mom's Kia off the hook. I'd never driven before in my life, so I decided to take the less expensive car in case I got into an accident. Though, frankly, they were both pretty shitty. I somehow managed to make it there, to the ritzy part of town where Aaron lived. I stopped off for a box of condoms on the way there, giddy with excitement. I parked a few blocks away so that nobody would see the rust bucket I'd arrived in. I'd never been to a party before, and in my imagination, I thought there'd be cars jamming the driveway, and music and lights and party goers spilling out into the front lawn. But that wasn't the case at all. The few cars that were there were neatly parked along the sidewalk, and the facade of the house couldn't have been quieter. Must be a pretty exclusive party, I thought as I rang the doorbell. Karen White answered the door. "We didn't know if you'd come," she said. "We're so happy that you did." "Yeah," I said, stepping in. "Me too. Follow me into the living room." I did, and when I got there, the scene was not at all what I expected. 5 or 6 of the most popular kids from school were sitting in various places, sipping on wine, chatting. That was a little more subdued than I had imagined, but it wasn't what was strange. What was strange was that there were a dozen or so adults also lounging around and swirling red liquid around in their glasses while they held discourse. 2 of them, who I suppose to be husband and wife, seemed distraught and were staring off into empty space. I didn't get a chance to make sense of it all before Sarah leapt up from the couch and ran over to me. "You came," she squealed, wrapping me in a hug. Then whispered in my ear, "And you're going to come again tonight." I felt dizzy and disoriented. I had known that I would need to learn the ropes of social interaction a bit, but this was all a little much. "Just in time," said Aaron, getting up from his chair and pouring a glass of wine from a bottle at the liquor cabinet. "It's him," said the male portion of the distraught couple. "This is the boy who has displaced my son." "Shut up, Stuart," said a lady from the other side of the room. "Maybe if you learned to shut up more, you wouldn't have to see this." "Oh, so it's my fault?" the sad Stuart guy moaned, leaning forward, as if. He was silenced when his wife put her hand on his shoulder. I'm sure what Stuart means to say is that his aligned hot head of Brett's is also responsible for 2 state championships. Will anyone deny it? For our part, we won't deny that Brett's temper has caused its fair share of troubles. The question is, does the bad outweigh the considerable good? Rather, that's the first question. The greater question is, what has he ever done? She spat that he out like somebody had put a dog turd in her mouth, and she pointed at me when she said it. "He beat the shit out of our loser son," said Sarah. "That's what he did." The room fell silent. I had no idea what was going on, other than I didn't like it at all. I could be home playing Dungeons and Dragons online, I thought. I could be home jerking off. I could be home doing literally anything other than what's happening right now. Whatever that is. Aaron handed me the glass of wine. Well, he said, tell us what you think about Brett. My mind shut off, and my mouth opened. Brett? There's nothing to him. It's a pretty basic case of what Freud termed penis envy. The room erupted in laughter. Everybody except for Brett's parents joined in the mirth. They both hung their hands even lower than before. The man began sobbing, and the woman wiggled away from him on the couch a little bit, and then also began sobbing. Is there any doubt then? Asked a gray-haired man in a very expensive-looking suit. Bring him in. A door swung open and I saw the backside of a butler, wheeling a gurney in. Brett was strapped to the gurney, with a ball gag stuffed in his mouth, and was struggling desperately and futilely against his restraints. All yours, boss, said Aaron, now handing me a gleaming knife. Go right for the heart if you can. Makes it better for everyone. They wanted me to kill Brett, I realized. Fuck. No. No way. Absolutely not. I'm gonna hook up with you so hard tonight, Sarah whispered in my ear. These people are insane, I thought. God, I have to get out of here. I turned the knife over in my hand as the butler brought Brett directly in front of me. He was staring up at me with wide, terrified eyes that said so much. They said, I'm sorry. Please don't do this. I'm just a scared child. If I could take it all back, I would. But I know I can't, because you can't unfuck a cow. But I am begging you, don't kill me. My heart was slamming away in my chest in jagged beats, struggling to keep up. Just get it over with already, said Brett's mom, the same mom I had joked about hooking up with earlier that day. There's no way out, I realized with horror, as I looked around the room at the cruel, eager faces. If I don't do it, then it's me on the hospital bed. I lifted the knife up high with a trembling hand and brought it home.